Summer turns into fall, the bloody stalemate goes on at Gallipoli. The depressing monotony is broken by sporadic attacks, but nothing changes much. The Turks still hold all the key terrain. The British are still pinned with their backs to the sea. Disease becomes the great killer in the trenches. Dysentery, cholera, and typhus.
There was not much sudden death, but there was slow death everywhere. The body was slowly dying from the inside. We talked to each other, we laughed occasionally, but always the thought of death in our minds. The men contracted dysentery and fever every day. The bullets did not take a big toll. It was the death of germs.
In October, London wants General Hamilton's opinion on the feasibility of evacuating all his troops. He replies that half his men will die trying to leave the beaches. A few days later, Hamilton is replaced by General Charles Monro. He surveys the hopeless situation at Cape Helles, Anzac Cove, and Suvla Bay, and tells the War Office that the army needs to leave Gallipoli with no more delay. Hearing about Monro's estimate, Winston Churchill bitterly comments, "He came, he saw, he capitulated." Lord Kitchener visits Gallipoli himself in November. After seeing the quagmire with his own eyes, he orders General Monro to prepare for evacuation. On December 18, 1915, British forces begin to re-embark on their ships. By January 9th, the withdrawal from Gallipoli is complete. Not a single Allied soldier has been killed during the entire evacuation.
Got the news of the evacuation of Anzac. The more I think of it, the more horrible the whole show seems. All that sacrifice, all that labour, for nothing at all. The flower of Australian manhood lies on and below the earth.
The cost of the campaign is horrifying. A combined total of 1 million men have fought at Gallipoli. Nearly half of them become casualties. Never again will the British Army attack the Turks from the sea. So ends Winston Churchill's gamble to win a quick victory against the Ottoman Empire. He is removed from his post as First Sea Lord and demoted to Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, a small, insignificant job where he will no longer control the fate of so many lives.
You know, Winston Churchill falls on hard times after the Dardanelles and Gallipoli campaigns, because in some respects he becomes a scapegoat. And he's really pushed into the background. And he doesn't really play a role thereafter until 1918, when he is going to be brought back. He actually spends some time on the Western Front. He's actually given a command on the Western Front during this period. But again, as far as high policy, you know, it's not until 1918 and 1919 that Churchill makes something of a comeback, that Lloyd George brings him back.
The day after Great Britain declares war on the Ottoman Empire, its first military act is to land troops near Abadan at the southern tip of Iran on November 6, 1914. Its mission is quite clear. Protect the nearby oil fields and make sure their production is not disrupted. Oil has become the new fuel for the Western world. The Royal Navy has switched from coal to oil a few years before the war begins. Great Britain and France have invested a lot of money and manpower to develop the oil fields in southern Iran. Consequently, the military minds in London believe that an advance into Iraq, right next door to Iran, will be the best way to make sure that oil continues to flow out of the Middle East and into Allied warships, trucks,